Hey, welcome back to YNR Update. Have we ever got a special edition for you? You know, you always think when you're out there on Twitter, is anybody looking at this thing? Do any of the celebrities look at this thing? Well, I can tell you, Katie McLean does look at her Twitter. Not only does she look at her Twitter, in fact, she actually saw a reference to her in yesterday's episode I did that said, "Is Kelly Andrews pregnant and still alive?" And not only did she watch it, but she responded on Twitter. In fact, it went on for quite a while. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people were throwing their theories out. It was tweeted, retweeted, and I'll tell you right now, Katie McLean is a great sport. Right up till this morning, we were still getting her tweets, our tweets, and retweets, and favorited tweets, and that's amazing. She is a really amazing person, and I want to thank her for actually playing this cat and mouse game with us, because if you saw the episode, you know what happened and you know why, and I'll refer back to that later in the episode. But first, let's start things out with what happens on today's episode. We see Sharon, and she calls Dylan and tells him that she is sorry, and then she hangs up. She she tries to take flight, but her car won't start, of course. Perfect. And the car looked really new too, by the way. Makes you wonder. The car wouldn't start, but all of a sudden she flags someone down, and it's Kyle, of all people. And Kyle drags her back. We also see Avery, and she's apologizing to Dylan, but we don't find out why, because just as she's doing that, Joe's vitals crash, and the doctor runs in, and he does end up steadying Joe's vitals after his surgery, but Avery ends up going in and talking to Joe, and she tells him it's all her fault, and now Joe gets to look like the hero, because what does Joe say? Joe says, "Don't worry, I'm not going to let you take the fall for this." He's looking like the hero. It's just really shaping up to be what we don't want to see. But one thing does come out of it is that, shocker, these things aren't hard to predict. Joe can't feel his legs, so guess who's going to be there for him? That's right. We also see Paul, and he overhears Dylan on the phone, and he knows he's talking to Sharon, and he basically asks him why he's running over to Sharon while Avery's going through this thing with Joe. Dylan's playing kind of coy, but Paul does grill him like a cop to a suspect, but he gets nothing out of him. We see Noah, and he's at Sharon's place. Now, he's blaming himself while he's talking to Summer about Sharon taking off. He feels really guilty. He feels like, he should have been there for her, and he should have believed in her when she asked him. So he calls Paul up, and he asks him to come over there, and he says he thinks that Sharon is maybe taking off. But we see Kyle roll in, and he brings Sharon back, and then Paul and Dylan arrive, and Sharon looks so guilty, but she declares that she's innocent. Only nobody wants to believe her. And then Summer gives Paul the tire iron, and then everything starts coming out. But Sharon says, "I was grabbed, I woke up here." Same thing, not a lot of people believe her. But she says, "Why would I do this if I was guilty?" And eventually, Sharon and Dylan tell Paul about running an independent test with the murder weapon that they found. It didn't turn into to the police. What do you think Paul's going to say? He reads in the riot act. He's sick and tired of these guys and the Scooby-Doo gang, as they're being called online. And they're calling themselves online, Robert Adamson. The Scooby-Doo gang, they turn around and they say that, he says, with you guys, you're getting into things that don't have anything to do with you. You're getting in the middle of police business, and I basically should arrest you all. So he turns around and he turns his attentions to Sharon and Dylan, and he says, "I want to know everything." So they tell him everything. And what does he do in the end? He doesn't charge them all. He just charges Sharon. So we're going to see what happens on that. Also, we see Jack and Phyllis, and they arrive in St. Bart's, and they end up getting married, and then they do what married couples do after that. But also we see Billy, and he returns from his trip to Chicago, and he now knows who hacked the server. Now he sits down with Ashley, and he tells Ashley that, but at the same time he's telling Ashley that, Victor and Victoria are sitting down, and Victor is showing her the results of what happened, and they see Jack. Yeah, that's right, Jack, and he uses, it looks like a thumbprint key code to get access to the Newman servers. And then at the time it's being hacked, and then he comes out of there. So it's looking like Jack is your guy. Now, Victor plants this suggestion to Vicky that Billy stole the code and gave it to Jack. So what do? They march on over to the Abbott mansion, and they find Ashley and they find Billy there, and they tell them the suspicions. They threaten to haul Jack in, And all of a sudden, Vicky changes her tune. You know, her and Billy were getting along. They said that they would not let their relationship get affected by the war that's happening with their families. But she turns on Billy and she says, I shouldn't have let my guard down. I shouldn't have believed in you. You did this. And they leave. And then Victor is, you know, continues with this and trying to, you know, make sure that he keeps a wedge between them. But Vicky calms down and she tells Victor that there's got to be more to the story. There's no way that Jack would just walk in and do this. Now we see, and I'll refer back to what I was talking to at the beginning, we see why we had so much fun with Katie McLean on Twitter, because the last scene we see what? Jack, the real Jack, tied up, a doppelganger, is the guy that married Phyllis. Yeah, that's right. And so who's holding him? Kelly Andrews. So we know things are going to get really, really uncomfortable here. Things, like I said, are about to heat up, and we're right in the middle of the heat right now. So the next episode, you know, is going to be a blockbuster. I'm going to keep you posted on it. Thank you for all the support, all the retweets, joining in on the conversation with us and Katie McLean. And thank you, Katie McLean. It's amazing that you watched the show, and it's amazing that you participated on such an amazing day. And I hope this does not mean, and if you reference my video from March 19th where I talked about character hits and misses, and I talked specifically about you, Katie, I hope this doesn't mean that because they're putting you in this crazy Kelly kind of character, that it means that you're going to be with us for a short time, because you're an amazing actress. I want to see you on the show for a long time. So hopefully they'll straighten this out and pin all the blame on Victor. All right. I want to thank you all for checking out YNR Update. Please come back. Like I said, it is getting fun. Don't forget to follow our Facebook site. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. And don't forget to follow us on Pinterest. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.